Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's always a pleasure to be here each year in this magnificent non-virtual environment. And I would like first to give you some digits about the map of convergence in France. What is noticeable there is that we have about 18 million ADSL subscriptions in France for a number of households, which is around 26,000. That means 70% of penetration. And among those 18 million, we have over 14 million subscriptions to voice over IP, which amounts to about 1/3 of the total of fixed line subscriptions in France, which is around 40 million. And if we look at the use of triple play, let's say television over ADSL, then we come to a digit of over 6 million, which is more than 1/3 of total ADSL subscription, and not 20% as mentioned wrongly on the slide. And as concerns mobile broadband, it's growing very fast. The multimedia users, people who have connected to internet during the last 3 months at least once through 2G plus or 3G, is almost 20 million, which is about 1/3 of the total mobile subscriptions, which is 58 million. And if we look specifically at 3G users, the last digit at the end of 2008 is over 11 million, which is about 1/5 of the total stock of mobile users in France. And this last digit doubled last year, which gives you an idea of the speed of the phenomenon. Now coming to more conceptual issues. What is convergence? Well, I am at my lost hours a game theorist, and I would call that a three times win-win-win game. And who are the winners? Well, the winners are the three players. And who are the three players? First player is, of course, the telcos, who can get more traffic on the network because of content and growth of content. Second winner is the industry of content, which gains larger audience from new platforms brought up by telcos. And third winner, of course, if we leave him win, and we discussed that this morning, is the user. If he can effectively have a full usage of content over the internet, then he is a winner of the game, and he can get richer content through augmented number of technical platforms. More networks, more access through more networks to more content. That's the benefit for the users, and it's important not to forget that the user is one of the players of the game, and not only the industry of content and the industry of telcos. Surplus has to be returned to the consumer. What are the main policy issues, to my sense, that are brought about by convergence? First, structure of the industry. It's important that the industry, which is now a twofold industry, both content and network, frontiers are blurred between those two segments, and the whole arrangement should be set up in order that surplus, global social surplus, be brought about by convergence. Second problem, I will come to each problem, a few words on each problem in a minute. Second problem is, as Niklas Economides mentioned this morning, to bring a viable solution to the internet neutrality problem. Third problem, which is the regulator's problem, is to give the right incentives to invest in the NGAs, and especially in the fiber networks. Fourth issue is allocate properly spectrum in order to make broadband mobile possible for 3G and 4G. And last but not least, making surplus available to the consumer through provision of legal content, large access to legal content over the internet. About the structure of the industry, I think that the important thing is to keep a vertical separation between the content segment and the access segment. Of course, telecom operators integrate vertically in content, they invest in content. That's the case of Orange, for instance, in France. And conversely, content editors invest in networks. That's the case of the Vivendi group in France, who holds the main pay TV operator Canal, and who owns an important challenger of France Telecom, which is SFR. And SFR is involved now both in fixed and mobile activity. So we have that blurring of frontiers, and when frontiers blur, then the regulator has to maintain some separation rules in order to prevent anti-competitive behavior. And it can come from, for instance, exclusivities of distribution. We have a case now in France of Orange, which is the historical operator on the fixed network and mobile. And Orange propose a sport and premium TV channel only accessible through Orange's platform. It's not, for instance, accessible through SFR's platform. So this kind, from the telcos regulator, from the point of view of a telecommunication regulator, such a distribution exclusivity is not a good thing because it forces the game of competition on the downstream segment of networks. And you can, of course, imagine leveraging in the other way. When you have two vertical segments, one actor who is dominant on one segment can try to leverage in order to abuse his dominant, to transfer his dominant position on the other segment. So this will be tomorrow a big challenge for the regulator. About net neutrality, I won't add much to what Nicolas Economides said this morning. I completely share the definition he gave of it. What I could add is that non-discrimination doesn't mean exactly non-differentiation. You can imagine, and more than imagine, that management of quality of service on the net should be properly retributed, and that different prices could be set for different level of quality or different prioritization levels. And this question, to find the proper balance between absolute net neutrality that would prohibit any kind of differentiation and no net neutrality at all, finding the good balance is very important because, as mentioned several speakers this morning, the emergence of user-generated content, of social network, Web 2.0, will bring many traffic, and this will raise more and more the issue of net neutrality. A word about regulated fixed NGAs, that is FTTH in France. So I will give you, as I do each year, some words about the French context. You know that in France we are in a favorable situation because we succeeded. We, when I say we, the regulator is not alone in this affair. Very dynamic challengers to France Telecom are also responsible for the success, but we have succeeded to get a satisfactory level of competition